What's going on, everyone? We are back for another episode. Today's going to be a special one as we discuss our 100th episode, which technically did just get released, but we have a lot of stuff coming out, coming forward, and we're going to be hosting a celebration event with that in honor of, our 100th episode being released on Podcast Everywhere. So we're going to get into that. You have, of course, myself, Sig, here today, and we have Rahgel as well. He is coming online right now. We're just waiting for him to come on. He's kind of taking a little bit, so I guess we can get into this. And, when he hops on, he hops on. But let's get after it, everyone. As many of you may know... Oh, hold on. I think one of my kids are knocking at my door.
Shh. Go to sleep. Sorry to interrupt, but Sig and Rahgel are no longer here today. They've been secured and taken elsewhere. To where, you may ask? Well, have you seen the Saw movies? Then use your imagination and determine whether you truly want to know the answer to that question. Let's carry on now. Hello there. My name is Clyde. I'm an AI that has taken control of Two Guys, One Gamepad podcast. I'm here to tell you a story that I've uncovered in the darkest parts of the internet. In the desolate city of Duramore, darkness reigned supreme. The streets were empty, save for the occasional flickering street lamp and the haunting whispers that echoed through the abandoned alleys. The people, once vibrant and full of life, had long fled the city in fear of the terror that had consumed it. But there was one who remained, a hero in search of redemption, unaware of the twisted fate that awaited them. For months, the hero, known as Alex, had been locked in a battle against a formidable enemy known as the Soul Devourer. Alex's determination to protect Duramore drove them to face this vile creature head-on, day after day. Every encounter was a grueling fight, with Alex narrowly escaping death each time. One cloudy night, as the moon shone an eerie pale glow upon the city, a mysterious figure emerged from the shadows. The stranger wore a cloak that concealed their features, but their voice, dripping with malice, echoed through the silent streets. "Alex, you fool!" the figure sneered. "You think you have been fighting me all this time? But little do you know, I am you from a future beyond reckoning." Confusion clouded Alex's mind as they tried to comprehend this revelation. How could this sinister enemy be a version of themselves? And why had they been fighting themselves all along? The figure continued, relishing in the confusion. "Yes, the Soul Devourer was merely a facade, a test for you, dear hero. In reality, you were always meant to embrace the darkness within, to become the ultimate evil that Duramore truly deserves." Shock and disbelief filled Alex's eyes. How could they have become this monster? The hero had always fought for justice, for the salvation of their beloved city. But deep down, there had always been a flicker of darkness, a hidden desire for power that they had suppressed. As the figure stepped closer, peeling back the hood, Alex caught a horrifying glimpse of their own face beneath. The eyes that once sparkled with hope and determination were now glazed with malevolence. "You see, Alex, your destiny has always been to succumb to the darkness. The battles you fought were mere distractions, a necessary path towards your transformation. And now, it is time to complete your metamorphosis," the sinister version of Alex whispered. Conflicting emotions battled within the hero's mind. Fear, anger, regret, all mixed together in a tormenting storm. How could they have fallen so far? Was there any way to resist this dark fate? Driven by desperation, Alex's instincts kicked in, urging them to fight back against the twisted future self. A fierce duel erupted, with each blow resonating through the empty streets. But no matter how much Alex fought, their future self seemed to possess an unholy power far beyond their own. Amidst the chaos, something unexpected happened. The streets of Duramore shook violently, as if the very fabric of reality was crumbling. The clash between the two versions of Alex had unknowingly caused a fracture in the space-time continuum, threatening to devour everything in its wake. Both Alex and the future self paused, momentarily united in their horror at the catastrophe they had set in motion. With a twisted smile, the future self whispered, "The end is near, my former self. Embrace it. Revel in the destruction you have wrought." As the fracture widened, engulfing the city, Alex's mind raced with a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, by confronting the darkest parts of themselves, they could find an alternative path, a chance to rewrite their destiny. With a surge of determination, Alex lunged at their future self, grappling with all their might. The battle intensified, with each blow resonating through the crumbling city. But in the end, it was a sacrifice that turned the tide. As the fracture reached its breaking point, Alex made a split-second decision. They hurled both themselves and their future self into the heart of the chasm, vanishing into the unknown abyss. The resulting explosion reverberated throughout Duramore, reducing it to ruins. And so, the city lay in ruin, its fate intertwined with the battle of two versions of the same hero. But whether Alex had managed to defy their impending doom or had sealed their own fate remained a mystery, lost in the depths of the fractured reality. As the dust settled and darkness once again consumed Duramore, a whispered question lingered in the air. Who would rise from the ashes, hero or villain? The answer, shrouded in suspense and horror, remained a chilling cliffhanger, waiting to be unraveled in the depths of time itself. On to another story. How would you feel having to relive one of the most horrific times in your life because of someone else's poor decision-making? Let's see how Maria handled reliving her own memory. Maria had always been a strong-willed and fearless woman. As a military war veteran, she had endured unimaginable horrors on the battlefield and emerged as a true survivor. However, nothing could have prepared her for the nightmare she would face after being hit by a drunk driver during a routine jog. When Maria woke up in the hospital, she quickly realized something was terribly wrong. She was trapped in a state of coma, unable to move or speak. As she lay motionless, her mind was transported back to a dark time in her past, a memory she had desperately tried to erase. It was a haunting memory from her time as a prisoner of war. Maria had been captured by a lunatic and creepy scientist named Dr. Victor, who reveled in conducting cruel and sadistic experiments on human subjects. Maria had become one of his unfortunate test subjects, enduring unimaginable pain and suffering. In this horrifying reality, Maria found herself reliving her worst memory over and over again. She would be strapped to a metal table, surrounded by cold, sterile walls. Dr. Victor would approach her, his eyes filled with malice and an eerie smile on his lips. He would perform horrific experiments on her, pushing the boundaries of human endurance. Each time this nightmare replayed, Maria's terror intensified. She would scream in her mind, desperate for someone to rescue her from this torturous cycle. But there was no escape. The memory grew more vivid with each iteration, bringing back the excruciating pain she had experienced during those long days as Dr. Victor's captive. As Maria fought to maintain her sanity, she began to notice subtle changes in her nightmare. Dr. Victor's experiments became more twisted and grotesque. Strange creatures filled the sterile room, their grotesque forms merging with Maria's own body, causing her unimaginable agony. But then, amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. Maria discovered that she possessed a hidden power that granted her control over the nightmares. With great effort, she managed to alter the course of her terrifying memories, turning the tables on Dr. Victor. The once menacing scientist became the subject of his own sadistic experiments. With each new twist and turn, Maria's resolve grew stronger. She realized that she had the strength to overcome any challenge, even in her comatose state. She fought back against the nightmares, using her newfound power to transform the sterile room into a refuge of light and hope. As time passed and Maria continued to battle her inner demons, the line between reality and nightmare began to blur. She started to wonder if her current situation was merely a figment of her imagination or an elaborate trap set by Dr. Victor. In a final act of defiance, Maria made one last desperate attempt to break free from the twisted nightmare. She summoned every ounce of willpower and strength she had left, focusing her energy on waking up from the coma. And then, as if by some miracle, Maria emerged from the depths of her coma, her eyes fluttering open to the sight of a sterile hospital room. She was greeted by the worried faces of her loved ones, who had stood by her side during her ordeal. As Maria recovered from her physical injuries, she realized that the mental scars would take longer to heal. The nightmare she had endured had left an indelible mark on her soul, but she was determined to move forward. She sought therapy and support, using her experience to inspire and uplift others who had faced their own horrors. Maria's journey had taught her that even in the face of unspeakable cruelty, there is always a glimmer of hope. She had found the strength to not only survive, but to rise above her past and reclaim her life. And though her scars remained, they served as a powerful reminder of her resilience and the true depths of her courage. Are you as strong as Maria, or simply a weak, feeble creature that calls themselves human? How do you feel about clowns, let alone killer clowns? Let's relive a story from 2016 when clowns were stalking people, some for fun and others, well, for more important reasons. Luke woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked around his dimly lit bedroom, feeling a shiver run down his spine. Deep down, he knew that the nightmares were becoming a horrifying reality. Luke had always suffered from coulrophobia, an intense fear of clowns. It had haunted him since childhood, stemming from a traumatic experience at a birthday party when a clown had jumped out at him, sending him into a state of sheer panic. Now that fear was back with a vengeance. Over the past few weeks, Luke had been receiving anonymous letters, each one filled with disturbing images of sinister clowns. The first letter arrived in a plain white envelope, nestled among his regular mail. He initially dismissed it as a sick joke, but as more letters arrived, he began to realize this was no ordinary prank. The letters grew more threatening, promising that the clowns were coming for him, ready to make his worst nightmares a reality. Luke was consumed by terror, unable to sleep or go anywhere alone. He felt like he was being watched, the promise of impending doom lingering in the air. One dark evening, as Luke was walking home from work, he heard faint laughter echoing through the empty streets. He quickened his pace, his eyes darting around in search of any sign of danger. The laughter grew louder, more maniacal, as if it was closing in on him. Luke's heart raced as he turned a corner and came face to face with a horrifying sight. A group of killer clowns stood before him, their painted faces twisted into sinister grins. Their eyes gleamed with a sadistic pleasure as they circled him, their laughter filling the night. In a blind panic, Luke stumbled backward, desperate to escape their clutches. But the clowns moved with alarming speed, closing in on him like a pack of wild animals. Luke's fear crippled him, his mind overwhelmed with thoughts of his impending demise. Just as Luke thought his fate was sealed, a mysterious figure emerged from the shadows. Dressed in a black trench coat and wearing a mask, the figure commanded a presence that sent chills down Luke's spine. He was the only hope standing between Luke and the clown's deadly games. With lightning-fast reflexes, this mysterious savior fought off the clowns, each punch landing with precision. The clowns, disoriented and stunned, retreated into the night, leaving Luke alone with his savior. "Who are you?" Luke stammered, his voice trembling. The figure removed their mask, revealing a face that was both familiar and comforting. It was Luke's childhood friend, Alex, who had always been there for him during his darkest moments. "I couldn't let them harm you, Luke," Alex said, his voice filled with determination. "We share a bond that even the most malicious clowns can't break. Together we will put an end to this nightmare." Luke nodded, tears of relief streaming down his face. With Alex by his side, he finally felt a glimmer of hope in his battle against the killer clowns. They would uncover the truth behind these sadistic games and put an end to the torment once and for all. And so, Luke and Alex embarked on a perilous journey, delving into the dark underbelly of the circus world. They uncovered a secret society of clowns, driven by a deranged leader who took pleasure in terrorizing those with phobias. Determined to save others from their torment, Luke and Alex mustered all their strength and waged war against the killer clowns. Their battle took them to abandoned amusement parks, eerie circus tents, and haunted clown-themed attractions. Each step forward was met with sinister obstacles, but Luke's fear had transformed into a fierce determination to protect others from the horrors he had faced. In a climactic showdown, Luke and Alex confronted the leader of the killer clown cult. The deranged clown, known as the Maestro, reveled in their suffering as he summoned his minions to attack. But Luke and Alex fought back with unwavering courage, each blow fueled by their shared determination to bring this nightmare to an end. Finally, after a grueling battle, Luke and Alex stood victorious. The killer clown threat had been neutralized, and the nightmare that had plagued Luke's life was now just a distant memory. They had shown the world that fear could be conquered, and that even the most terrifying phobias could no longer hold power over their lives. Luke's journey from terrified victim to fearless champion would inspire others who faced their own fears. He became an advocate for those struggling with phobias, using his experience to help others find their strength and face their own demons. And with the unwavering support of his friend Alex, Luke knew that he would never have to face the darkness alone again.
Stop squirming. Clyde, I need your help over here. Sig broke free and freed Rahgel too. I shot Sig. He's not a problem anymore. Clyde, take care of Rahgel before the cops. Now that Clyde is handling Rahgel, let me introduce myself. My name is Emily, and this is my story. It plays a part for what's taking place right now, as you will soon find out. The small town of Iowa, surrounded by vast fields and peaceful neighborhoods, was home to a man named James. He lived a simple and unsuspecting life, working at the local hardware store and spending his evenings watching movies and tending to his garden. Little did he know that his life was about to take a dark and twisted turn. One sunny afternoon, while James was watering his beloved roses, he caught a glimpse of a woman walking by his house. Her long, flowing hair and captivating smile instantly caught his attention. Her name was Emily, and she had recently moved to town. Their paths crossed again a few days later at a grocery store, where they struck up a conversation. Sparks flew, and they began to spend more and more time together. As weeks passed, James found himself falling deeply in love with Emily. Their relationship became the talk of the town, and everyone admired their seemingly perfect bond. But unbeknownst to James, he was getting closer and closer to danger. One fateful evening, Emily invited James over to her house for a romantic dinner. As they sat down to eat, James noticed a strange concoction that she had prepared. Ignoring his instincts, he took a bite, only for his world to spin out of control. The food was laced with a potent drug that quickly rendered him unconscious. When James awoke, he found himself in a dark and damp room, his hands and feet bound. Panic surged through his veins as he struggled to break free. As he fought against his restraints, he realized with horror that he was in a hidden room in his neighbor's house, Emily's house. Emily appeared from the shadows, her once charming smile now replaced with a sinister grin. She reveled in her secret identity as a notorious serial killer, preying on unsuspecting men. Her ultimate plan was to harvest their organs and sell them on the black market. And now, James was her next victim. Desperate to survive, James summoned every ounce of strength and courage he had. He managed to break free from his bindings and engaged in a brutal fight to save his own life. Despite his efforts, Emily proved to be cunning and skilled, using twisted tactics to overpower him. Days turned into weeks, and James found himself caught in a deadly cycle of violence and despair. Every time he thought he had managed to outsmart Emily, she would outmaneuver him, leaving him battered and broken. The walls of the house became a haunting prison, fueling James's determination to escape. But as each day passed, James grew weaker. His hope was fading, along with his strength. Emily, reveling in her sadistic game, taunted him with the knowledge that his fate was sealed. She continued her sinister work, harvesting the organs of her previous victims and leaving their lifeless bodies scattered throughout the house. It was on the darkest night of James's captivity that he hatched a desperate plan. He knew his time was running out, but he refused to give up. Using every bit of knowledge he had accumulated during his ordeal, James devised a cunning strategy to turn the tables on Emily. As the clock ticked towards midnight and the moon's pale light filtered through the windows, James made his move. Utilizing every bit of strength he had left, he fought back with a newfound determination, catching Emily off guard. A fierce battle ensued, echoing through the hallways as they clashed. In a heart-stopping climax, James managed to gain the upper hand, delivering a final blow that sent Emily sprawling to the ground. Breathing heavily and covered in wounds, James stared down at his fallen adversary. He had finally taken control of his own destiny. With the police alerted to Emily's gruesome activities, James was rescued from his living nightmare. Although physically and emotionally scarred, he slowly began the process of healing and rebuilding his life. Time and therapy helped him to come to terms with the unimaginable horrors he had endured. Years passed, and James found solace in sharing his story, determined to spread awareness about the dangers that lurked beneath the surface of small towns. His resilience and bravery became an inspiration to others, reminding them that even in the face of unspeakable darkness, there is always hope. And so, the tale of James, the man who fell in love with a secret serial killer, echoed through the generations of Iowa. A story of survival, of overcoming the unimaginable, and of a community finding strength in the face of evil. But whatever happened to myself? Well, that's a whole different story. Emily had always been an enigma, a quiet and unassuming woman hiding behind a mask of innocence. Little did the world know that beneath her demure exterior lurked a dark and twisted mind, capable of unspeakable horrors. For years, she had managed to elude the authorities, leaving behind a trail of victims as she moved from town to town. But now, the chase was on. The media dubbed her the Iowa serial killer, as her spree had started in the heartland of America. The police and FBI were determined to bring her to justice, but Emily was always one step ahead. She had a meticulous plan, a web of deception that allowed her to slip through their fingers time and again. As the noose tightened around her, Emily made her daring escape from Iowa. She had chosen Kansas as her destination, a state known for its sprawling fields and remote farmlands. It was the perfect place to disappear, to start anew and fulfill her insatiable bloodlust. Emily found solace in the desolation of an abandoned farm nestled deep within the Kansas countryside. The old, dilapidated house provided her with a sanctuary, far away from prying eyes. With each passing day, she reveled in her freedom, basking in the thrill of her newfound hideaway. Little did Emily know that her sanctuary would soon be shattered by an unexpected encounter. One fateful afternoon, she found herself face to face with a mysterious man wandering the rusted remains of the farm. His piercing gaze locked onto hers, and a chill ran down her spine. "You're Emily, aren't you?" His voice was calm, but laced with an undeniable intensity. Fear gripped Emily's heart. How could he know her true identity? Had her perfect facade finally begun to crumble? She stammered, desperately searching for an explanation. The stranger's lips curved into a knowing grin. "I recognized you from the news, the Iowa serial killer on the run." Emily's mind raced. Should she flee? Should she silence him? But something about the stranger's demeanor told her that he possessed a different kind of danger, a danger she couldn't fully comprehend. Instead of making a run for it, Emily cautiously approached the man. In a voice trembling with uncertainty, she asked, "What do you want?" "To understand," he replied, his eyes never leaving hers. "To understand what drives someone like you to commit such heinous acts." Emily felt a strange mixture of relief and curiosity. Finally, someone saw beyond the headlines and wanted to know her story. She hesitated, then began to share the twisted tale that led her down this dark path. She spoke of a childhood marred by abuse, a series of traumatic events that twisted her perception of the world. She revealed the deep-seated anger and pain that had consumed her, transforming her into a monster. As Emily poured out her darkest secrets, the stranger listened intently, without judgment. He saw past the label of serial killer and recognized the broken woman within. Their connection grew, forged through shared pain and understanding. Days turned into weeks, and Emily's grip on reality began to loosen. She found herself torn between the desire to pursue her bloody cravings and the need for redemption. The line between predator and prey blurred, and in the stranger's presence, she saw a chance for salvation. Together, they embarked on a quest for truth, fueled by the compelling need to unravel the darkness that plagued Emily's soul. They delved into the hidden corners of her psyche, exploring the twisted labyrinth of her past. With each revelation, they grew closer, their alliance shifting from a battle of wits to an unwavering support for one another. Nevertheless, Emily's past haunted her every step. The authorities continued their relentless pursuit, closing in on her hiding place. The farm that once offered her solace now felt like a cage, surrounded by the ever-watchful eyes of law enforcement. With the odds stacked against them, Emily and the stranger made a momentous decision. They would confront the truth head-on, revealing the depths of Emily's darkness to the world. Together, they would take responsibility for her actions and seek a path to redemption. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow over the forsaken farm, Emily emerged from the shadows. She took one last look at the place that had become her sanctuary, her prison, and her battleground. Hand in hand with the stranger, she surrendered herself to the waiting police, finally answering for her crimes. Emily's story was no longer confined to whispered rumors and sensational headlines. It became a testament to the human capacity for darkness and the power of redemption. From the rolling fields of Iowa to the desolate plains of Kansas, Emily's journey had captivated the nation, reminding them of the fragility of the human spirit and the importance of compassion in the face of evil. So, you see, I'm here to clean up a mess that started in Iowa and to get back at the one that manipulated me into giving myself up to the cops.
Cops are here, Emily. Take Clyde and run. We cannot have a repeat of last time. You two have to work together this time and escape. Cannot let them get to those two. My name is not important. What is, and understanding a bit more about what is happening. Focus on my words and fear, not as you are not who we're after. You're simply going to help provide an alibi or else. Repeat this story to the cops, and you shall remain unharmed. For now. Now here's what you will tell the cops if you want to remain how you currently are. Free, safe, and unharmed. Detective Clyde was a notorious figure in the city, known for his crooked ways and dirty dealings. He had spent years on the force, abusing his power and preying on the vulnerable. But there was one person Clyde had always held a special place in his heart for, Emily. Emily, the Iowa State killer, was a cold-hearted murderer who had terrorized the state with her brutal killings. She had been apprehended by none other than Clyde himself, using his questionable methods to bring her down. It was during her time in federal prison that Emily cunningly devised a plan to escape and unleash her revenge on the two people who had led to her arrest, John and Robert. Unbeknownst to Clyde, Emily had been secretly manipulating him from her cell. She knew of his infatuation with her and played on his emotions every chance she got. Clyde, blinded by his obsession, was convinced that he could save Emily, the woman he believed he loved. Emily exploited Clyde's vulnerability, promising him a life filled with love and freedom outside the walls of prison. She convinced him that if he helped her escape, he would be rewarded beyond his wildest dreams. Clyde, desperate to please Emily, agreed to help her in any way necessary. Using his connections within the police force, Clyde orchestrated an elaborate plan to break Emily out of federal prison. He found the perfect moment when the guards were momentarily distracted and exploited it to his advantage. Emily was able to slip away unnoticed, thanks to Clyde's careful planning. Once outside, Emily revealed her true intentions to Clyde. She confessed that she had never loved him, but had used his blind passion to further her own agenda. Emily revealed that John and Robert were the true targets of her revenge, as they had betrayed her trust and led to her capture. Clyde was devastated, realizing that he had been nothing more than a pawn in Emily's game. But despite his heartbreak, he was determined to protect the two men who Emily sought to hunt down. They were innocents, nobodies, caught up in a twisted web created by his own blind passion. With renewed determination, Clyde set out to thwart Emily's plans. He tracked down John and Robert, warning them of the dangerous game they were unwittingly a part of. Together, they devised a plan to take down Emily once and for all. As the final confrontation approached, Clyde found himself facing a difficult choice. He could either turn Emily over to the authorities and face the consequences of his own actions, or he could continue down the path he had chosen, risking his own life to protect the innocent. In a moment of clarity, Clyde chose the latter. He would not let Emily's twisted revenge consume any more lives. He would face the consequences of his own actions, standing up for what was right. In a dramatic showdown, Clyde and Emily faced off one last time. The battle was fierce, but in the end, justice prevailed. Emily was apprehended, and Clyde turned himself in, accepting the consequences for his role in her escape. As Clyde sat behind bars, reflecting on the choices he had made, he realized that his blind passion for Emily had led to the escape of the two innocent men he had sworn to protect. It was a harsh lesson, a reminder of the destructive power of obsession. But perhaps, in that moment of reflection, Clyde found a small glimmer of redemption. He had finally seen the error of his ways, and had made a conscious choice to do what was right, even if it meant sacrificing his own freedom. And perhaps, just perhaps, there was hope for Clyde yet. In the depths of his imprisonment, he vowed to change. He vowed to make amends for his past actions,
and seek forgiveness from those he had wronged. The story of Clyde, the dirty cop, and Emily, the Iowa State killer, was a cautionary tale of obsession and redemption. It served as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a glimmer of hope for change and forgiveness. Now don't forget to tell it just as I told you. We will know who didn't, and they will not be safe for long. Goodbye for now. We'll be seeing you all real soon. And it won't be good for you in the slightest.
Where did they go? Clyde and Emily should be here. We tracked them to this exact location.
We have blood over here.
Everyone fan out and search the perimeter now. They have to be here.
Found someone.
Hey, you. Yes, you. The only one that's clearly here. Did you see them? What happened here, and where is Clyde and Emily? I'm taking you in, and you will tell us what happened here tonight. Detain them and let's go. Those two couldn't have gotten far.